I want to now move on to talking about how you develop your roadmap, your ABM roadmap. It's particularly challenging actually in healthcare. I the, there are there's some quite some other sources you might want to check out actually for planning your roadmap. Demandbase has a whole program on it, which is really excellent. The thing about those is that they are designed for other business to business categories. And as we all know, the biggest problem that we all have in healthcare is the length of the sales cycle. So the way that I think about it is that you want to do you want to implement your program in a series of manageable steps. So to implement something significant, 90 days is about the limit. You know, any shorter than a 90-day program is going to be hard to do anything of any real sophistication. So what I recommend is that you think about, your roadmap in a series of 90-day sprints. And what you do is you develop a road. You take your sales cycle and you then divide that up into 90-day sprints. So, for example, if you've got a 12-month sales cycle that's typical, divide this up into 4 90-day sprints. So here's an example of what that might look like. So let's say you start off with sprint 1, so experiment or pilot number 1 that you're going to do is to determine whether or not you can be successful in generating disproportionately more leads from your target account list by implementing an ABM campaign. So at the end of 90 days, and I'm going to go into the detail of how you might plan that, but just in a big picture, that's the goal. And if that works, then you expand that and you start optimizing that. So that then becomes part of what you do on an ongoing basis. You then kick off your second sprint, and your second sprint is then the next stage in the life cycle. So you're going to start to see with those leads is, are they converting? So are you able to convert some of those leads into quality opportunities within your target account list? And again, if that works, you expand and you optimize that. So then the next sprint is to see whether, when you look back on the last 6 months, has these activities increased pipeline velocity? So you might design an experiment to see whether pipeline velocity is different in the target accounts that you're doing ABM to versus the ones that you're not doing. Or is ABM or is an ABM programming increasing target velocity? It's kind of difficult to do it, but it's a very important metric to see if you can make an impact on, because for obvious reasons, right? If you can shorten the sales cycle, that's nirvana, right? And then if that works, you expand and you optimize it. And then the last thing is a look back on, are those, you've 12-month sales cycles, how are you doing in actually closing business? Has it made a meaningful impact on that? And so you design an experiment to see whether, you design an experiment to actually see if you can improve the close rate of those accounts that have been in the pipeline for that long. So that's just, a way of designing it. But what I suggest you do is work backwards from how long it takes to close an account and the steps that you take to do it, and break those steps down into a series of 90-day sprints that would be analogous to moving deals through the pipeline.